I saw somebody mention this, so I looked up some articles about it, and these are science sites, except one is a news site, and basically all these came out in November, talking about the Earth's rotation. It's continuously slowing down, and it has to do with the core and just probably, um, physics. Okay, but even a tiny slowdown in the Earth's rotation changes the crust, the reaction. So they're predicting that 2018 will see more major quakes. Um, this one from Life Science says that past periods of slow rotation over the last 100 years have coincided with more earthquakes than average, according to research presented last month at the annual meeting of the Geological Society of America. And then they talk about the patterns um, of the slowdowns with quakes that coincide. Sorry, I had to put some dogs out. It says here, as a result, next year could see more quakes if past data is any indication, whereas an average year might see about 15 earthquakes of magnitude 7 or greater. The next 4 years could see close to 20 earthquakes of that size per year. So we know that in Matthew 24, Mark 13, Luke 21, he says that there'll be earthquakes in various places. And all these are the beginning of sorrows. Right here on, I think this is a blog page, but I think it's news. It says BGR, but it has different sections, so I'm believing it's a news post. This guy also posted on the 20th of November, goes over the same thing. Going back over the last 100 years, they've determined the temporary slowing of Earth's rotation seemed to be linked with the most devastating and frequent earthquake outbreaks. Um, so next year we could see a significant increase in the number of severe earthquakes, although in 2017 we saw quite a few. We've had it easy this year. I don't think so, because Mexico and the Middle East had some pretty large ones, so and Fiji. So far we've only had about 6 severe earthquakes. We could easily have 20 a year starting in 2018. Here on Forbes.com, I'll leave links to these so you can read them, but they all came out the same day, November 20th, 17. Says Earth's rotation is mysteriously slowing down. Experts predict uptick in 2018 earthquakes. If there's anything different in here. Says typically there will be 15 to 20 large earthquakes 7.0 or greater. However, during the noted uptick in earthquakes aligning to the 5th year of Earth's rotation slowdown, there are an average of 20 to 30. Okay. And then this is Fox News. Huge uptick in earthquakes predicted in 2018 as geologists note Earth's rotation is slowing. So, 2 geologists may have spotted a surprising simple correlation that can help predict earthquakes. And so that's what they're basing it on, is past data. All right. But another thing that had me thinking was, let me go somewhere real fast. So going to Matthew 24, we see that when Jesus was asked by the disciples about when will the end of the age be and what will be the signs of him coming for the second time and the end of the age, he said there's going to be deception, wars, see that you're not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet, for nation will rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines, pestilences, and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. And so earthquakes, pestilence, and famines. Okay, so we see there's going to be possibly an uptick in earthquakes, severe ones this coming year or for the next 4 years. Okay, and then along with that, I was thinking about if the Earth's rotation slows down, how does that affect the weather? So I didn't find much on that. I didn't search very long, but I did find this blog, Quora.com, Um, it says what somebody asked, what would happen if the Earth were to slow down? So it says the Earth is slowing down by about 20 millionths of a second each year. This is caused by tidal forces generated by the moon. It's physics. Also, the spinning isn't going to continue at the same rate forever. At the same time, these forces cause the moon to get about 4 centimeters further away each year, which affects the tides of the oceans and the pull on the Earth. If you mean what would happen if the Earth suddenly slowed down significantly or even stopped rotating, what would we experience? Then we would experience hurricane winds, about 1,000 miles an hour, 500-mile high tidal waves, and probably the meltdown of the Earth's crust. All that rotational energy has to go somewhere. I thought that was interesting. So hurricane winds and tidal waves, okay? Because in Revelation, sorry, not Revelation, but Luke 21, also paralleling Matthew 24, and there will be signs in the sun and the moon and in the stars, and on the earth distress of nations, with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring. So I thought that was interesting because he said that there would be tidal waves if the Earth's rotation were to slow down to a certain point. So with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring, men's hearts failing them from fear and the expectation of those things which are coming on the earth, for the powers of the heavens will be shaken. Then they will see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. Now when you see these things begin to happen, look up and lift up your heads, because your redemption draws near. So, famine, pestilences, earthquakes, and this guy said hurricane winds and tidal waves. And then somebody else down here said, I'm not sure about the effects on the planet's core, but the climatic effects are much more vast than hotter days and colder nights. Because somebody said, and it'll be in here somewhere, the temperatures differences would make the ocean streams change dramatically. All climate would be affected. So once the ocean streams and the wind currents and the ocean currents changed, it affects the climate. All climate would be affected. Forests could turn to deserts. Deserts could start to receive more and more rain and become fertile terrain. Droughts, ice, completely different seasons. So wouldn't that tie in also to famines? If the seasons are going to be changed, it's going to cause droughts and famine, just like we see in Revelation 3 as well. The second one is war, when he says you'll see wars and rumors of wars, and then there'll be pestilences, famine, and earthquakes. It says, when he opened the third seal, I heard, Revelation 6:5, the third living creature say, come and see. So I looked, and behold, a black horse, and he who sat on it had a pair of scales in his hands, and I heard the four living creatures saying, a quart of wheat for a denarius, and 3 quarts of barley for a denarius, and do not harm the oil and the wine. So this is scarcity, it's famine. And the fourth seal, we see that power was given over to death and Hades over a fourth of the earth to kill with sword, war, hunger, famine, and death, pestilence, disease, and the beasts of the earth, which I also believe spreads viruses and diseases by even insects. Okay, not just meaning, large animals that are going to eat people, but small arthropods that would, mosquitoes and fleas and stuff that spread diseases. So he says famines, pestilence, and earthquakes, and we see not just the earthquake uptick, okay, with the slowing of the planet, but we see that it causes effects with the ocean, perplexity, with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring, and we see famine. And it would cause droughts because there would be hotter days and colder nights, not really different seasons. Not to mention that a slower rotation could make the sea levels lower near the equator and raise near the poles, as there would be less centrifugal forces applied to the planet's water masses. This very same mechanism could put some stress on the planet's crust, so volcanism, volcanoes, and earthquakes could possibly be expected as well, which is what we will see in the end times, according to Jesus. Okay, and then this answer is, let's see. He agreed that um, there would be greater cooling at night, though how much remains subject to debate, and there would be greater warming during the day. So the greater warming would drive more powerful winds and storms than we currently have. So more storms, ocean and land, but warmer days like tropical, and then cooler nights, colder. But these would have the effect of mixing the atmosphere more quickly and thoroughly, which would redistribute the heat. It would increase atmospheric humidity. Um, and anyways, I'll leave a link. But we see it happening in science, and we see what Jesus warned us about in the end times and what would happen. And we see those things happening now. So look up, and because your redemption draws near, when Jesus returns, we will be resurrected. Praise the Lord. So um, he tells us to watch, keep watching, and waiting for the Lord. Watch and pray that you may be counted worthy to escape all these things that will come to pass and stand before the Son of Man. God bless.